You ever have one of those moments where you think, well, I guess that's that? Maybe it was the day you filed for Social Security, you made the best decision you could at the time, maybe money was tight. Or you figured you were finally ready, but then the months pass, prices go up, and suddenly that check doesn't stretch quite the way you hoped it would. And maybe you start wondering, is this really all I can get? It's a common thought. A lot of folks assume that once you start drawing Social Security, your number is locked in forever, no changes, no second chances. But that's not quite true. Here's something most people don't know. There are a few ways, simple, completely legal, and often overlooked, that you can actually increase your Social Security benefits. Even after you've started receiving them, that's right. You might still be able to raise that monthly check, tweak your situation, and set yourself up for a little more breathing room down the line. Now, we're not talking about miracles or overnight changes, but we are talking about smart, manageable moves that could put real money back in your pocket over time. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 of those moves, each one tailored for folks in their 60s, 70s, or even older. These are steps people just like you are taking today, not only to make ends meet, but to feel a little more control, a little more comfort, and a lot more confident about the years ahead. Whether you've already started collecting Social Security or you re-helping a spouse figure it out, this information is for you. I'll keep it clear, I'll keep it simple. And I promise we're staying far away from gimmicks or complicated jargon, just real strategies based on real Social Security rules that you can actually use. And before we dive in, if you find this kind of information helpful, if you like learning ways to protect and grow what you earned, I'd love for you to support this community here at Vibrant Elders. Just tap that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe even drop a comment below. What age did you start collecting Social Security? You never know, your story might help someone else feel less alone in this. Alright, let's get to it. Because no matter what choices you've made in the past, there's still a chance to shape what comes next. Let us take a closer look at the first move, one that's as simple as staying active and might just lead to a surprising bump in your benefits. Number 1. Keep working. Jim, a retired school janitor from Michigan, thought his working days were behind him. He'd filed for Social Security at 63, figuring it was the responsible thing to do. But a couple of years in, the rising cost of living started eating into his budget. The monthly check that once felt just enough started feeling tight, so he picked up a few hours a week doing handyman work for neighbors, fixing leaky faucets, installing shelves, painting fences, nothing fancy, just honest work. What he didn't realize at first was that this small side hustle wasn't just helping him cover groceries, it was also quietly increasing his Social Security benefit. Let me explain why. Social Security benefits are based on your highest 35 years of earnings. That means every year you work, even after you've started collecting, has the potential to replace a lower earning year in that 35-year calculation. If Jim earned $8,000 in 2023, and one of the years from his early 20s showed only $2,000 in income, then Social Security recalculates his benefit to include the $8,000 year and drop the $2,000 one. That simple switch, year by year, can nudge his monthly check upward. And here's the really important part. The Social Security Administration does this automatically. You don't have to call or fill out any paperwork. Every year, they receive earnings data from the IRS. And if your recent income is higher than one of the lower years in their records, they adjust your benefit. Usually, you'll see the new amount starting the following January. It's not always a massive increase, but over time, it adds up. Now, you might be wondering, what if I'm past my full retirement age? That's a great question, and here's the good news. Once you hit your full retirement age, there is no penalty for working and earning as much as you want. That means you can earn $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 a year on the side, and your Social Security check won't be reduced. If you're under full retirement age, it's a little more nuanced. The SSA does set an annual earnings limit, $21,240 in 2023, for example, and if you go over that, they temporarily withhold a portion of your benefits. But even then, it's not lost money. Once you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit and pays back what was withheld over time. It's more of a delay than a punishment. So while you do want to be mindful if your under Friday working still contributes to long-term gain, and the kind of work doesn't have to be intense or high stress, think about what you enjoy or what you're already good at. Light bookkeeping, babysitting for a neighbor, delivering groceries or meals a few hours a week, teaching piano lessons, walking dogs, all of it counts. Take Rosa, for example. She's 70 and teaches watercolor painting at a local community center twice a week. She gets paid a small stipend, maybe $150 a week, but it keeps her active, connected, and yes, nudges her Social Security benefit a little higher each year. It also gives her what she calls guilt-free grocery money. She doesn't worry when she wants to buy better ingredients or splurge on flowers because she earned that freedom herself. Another example? Earl, a retired firefighter, drives for a medical transport company part-time, just 2 days a week. He says the extra money isn't life-changing, but the boost in confidence, the small increase in his check, and the ability to help folks get to their doctor appointments all make it worthwhile. Even if you only work a few months out of the year, it can still help. Some retirees work seasonal jobs tax prep in the spring, retail in December, farmers markets in the summer. Every bit counts, especially if it replaces a low-earning year in your Social Security record. And here's something else to consider. Staying active through part-time work has benefits beyond just money. Studies show that continued engagement, both mentally and physically, can improve brain function, reduce feelings of isolation, and even lead to better long-term health outcomes. So, in a way, you're investing in both your income and your well-being. You don't have to hustle, you don't have to overextend yourself. But if there is something you're already doing or something you've always wanted to try, it might be worth exploring. The benefits go beyond the paycheck. They might even show up in your next Social Security statement. So if you're still up for it, or just a little curious, consider taking on a small role, a fun side gig, or a flexible project that fits your pace. You never know, next January's check might just reflect the effort you put in this year. Let us talk next about another powerful opportunity, one that has less to do with what you're re-earning and more to do with who you've been connected to in life. Number 2, apply for spousal or survivor benefits, even mid-retirement. Linda had been collecting her own Social Security benefits for a few years when her friend brought something up at their weekly coffee catch-up. Did you ever look into survivor benefits? Her friend asked. Linda blinked. Her husband had passed 5 years earlier, and she'd filed for her own retirement benefits shortly after. She assumed that her monthly check was her check, and that's all she'd ever get, but after a little digging, a call to Social Security, and some helpful guidance, she learned something surprising. She could switch to her late husband's benefit. And just like that, her monthly income jumped by almost $400. This kind of situation happens more often than you might think. Many people, especially women, don't realize they might be eligible for spousal or survivor benefits even after they've already claimed their own. And in some cases, the spousal or survivor benefit is higher than what they're currently receiving. Let's break it down simply and clearly. If you're currently married, you might be eligible for spousal benefits. These allow you to collect up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefit, not what they're getting if they claimed early, but what they'd receive at full retirement age. If your own benefit is lower than 50% of your spouse's, you can apply to receive the difference. For example, if your spouse is entitled to $2,000 a month and your own benefit is $700, you could be eligible for a spousal benefit that brings you up to $1,000. If you're divorced, you may still qualify for spousal benefits as long as the marriage lasted 10 years or more, and you haven't remarried. The rules are similar, up to 50% of your ex-spouse's benefit, and they don't even need to know you've applied. It doesn't reduce their benefit in any way. And it can be a real financial lifeline for someone who spent years out of the workforce, raising a family or supporting a partner's career. Then there are survivor benefits, which are often the most powerful of the three. If your spouse has passed away, and if you were married for at least 9 months before they died, you could be eligible to receive up to 100% of their benefit. Depending on your age and circumstances, widows and widowers can apply for survivor benefits as early as age 60, though the amount is reduced if taken before full retirement age. You can also switch between benefits. That means you could start on your own retirement benefit, then switch to a higher survivor benefit later, or vice versa. This flexibility is where the opportunity lies. A lot of folks don't know you can switch. They think that once they start collecting, that's the end of the road, but the Social Security Administration allows you to compare and choose. And if you're already collecting your own retirement benefit, you can still apply for a higher spousal or survivor benefit if you qualify, and you'll start receiving the higher amount moving forward. Here's another real example. Gary and Susan were married for over 40 years before Gary passed away. Susan filed for her own Social Security at 62, thinking she had to do it early to make ends meet. At the time, she received about $850 a month. Years later, a friend at her church mentioned survivor benefits. Susan called the SSA, and after a review of Gary's records, she learned she could switch to his full benefit just over $1,300 a month. She didn't need to repay anything, didn't need to go back and reapply for everything. She simply started receiving the higher check, applying is straightforward. All you need to do is contact the Social Security Administration, either online by phone or in person, and ask about your eligibility for spousal or survivor benefits. They'll look at your record, your current benefit, and your spouse's or former spouse's earnings to determine if switching will give you more. You'll likely need to provide documents, marriage certificate, birth certificate, and in the case of a deceased spouse, a death certificate. A word of encouragement: don't assume they'll tell you about this automatically. Social Security does a lot, but it's still up to you to ask the right questions. If you think you might qualify for more, ask. And if you're not sure, ask anyway. You've earned the right to every dollar you're entitled to. This kind of benefit shift can make a huge difference. That extra $200, $300, or $400 a month might mean catching up on bills, saying yes to a family vacation, or simply breathing a little easier knowing you're in a better place financially. So, take a moment to think. Have you ever been married for over 10 years? Are you widowed? Did your spouse or former spouse have a higher earning history than you? If yes, it's absolutely worth a phone call. You might discover that your monthly check has room to grow, and all it takes is knowing the rules and asking the right question now. Let's move to one final strategy, one that helps people who filed a bit too early and gives them a second shot at a stronger future. Number 3, stop and restart benefits. If you claim too early, Frank filed for Social Security the day he turned 62. His hours had been cut at work, his knees were bothering him, and the idea of a monthly check, even if it was smaller, felt like a lifeline. For a while, it worked out fine, but by the time he hit 66, he started to notice the gap. Prices were up, his savings weren't stretching like he'd hoped, and that smaller check, it just wasn't enough anymore. I thought once I started, I was locked in for life, Frank told me. But then he heard about something called a benefit suspension, and what he found out changed everything. Let's talk about what Frank and many others have discovered. If you claim Social Security too early, you might have the option to stop and restart your benefits. And doing that can lead to a significantly higher monthly check for the rest of your life. There are 2 main ways to do this, depending on your age and how long it's been since you started collecting. The first option is called a withdrawal of application. This is for people who claimed Social Security within the last 12 months and decide it was too soon. You essentially tell the SSA, I changed my mind to do this. You file Form SSA 521 and agree to repay all the benefits you've received so far. That includes not just your own checks, but any spousal or family benefits that might have been triggered by your claim. It's a clean reset. Once approved, it's like you never filed. You can wait and reapply later, ideally at a higher age when your benefit has grown. Now, this isn't for everyone. Not everyone can afford to pay back months of benefits. But for those who can, maybe from a savings account, inheritance, or part-time income, it's a legal, legitimate way to get a second chance at a better payout. The second and more common option is called a benefit suspension, and it's available after you reach full retirement age, usually between 66 and 67, depending on when you were born. With this option, you don't have to repay anything. You simply contact the SSA and say, I'd like to suspend my benefits From that moment on, your checks stop coming. But something valuable starts happening behind the scenes. Your benefit begins growing again thanks to something called delayed retirement credits. For every year you suspend your benefits between full retirement age and age 70, your monthly check increases by about 8% per year. That's right, 8% annually, guaranteed. By law. Let's say Frank's check at 66 was $1,200 a month. If he suspended for 2 years, his check would grow by roughly 16%. That's an extra $192 per month. Every month, for the rest of his life by age 70. It would be up nearly 32%, bumping his check close to $1,600. That's no small change, especially if you live into your 80s or 90s. This strategy can be particularly useful for people who claimed early out of necessity but later found some financial breathing room through part-time work, a spouse's income, or even a paid-off mortgage. It's also a great option for people who are healthy and expect to live a long life. The longer you live, the more that larger check pays off. One important note, during the suspension period, you won't receive any benefits. And no family benefits based on your record will be paid either. That includes spousal or dependent benefits. So it's important to talk this through with your family and make sure it fits your overall plan. Now, I know this might sound a bit technical, but it's not as overwhelming as it seems. To start the process, all you have to do is contact the Social Security Administration by phone or in person and request to suspend your benefits. They'll walk you through the details, confirm your eligibility, and make the change. No forms to print, no online maze, just a conversation. Let's take another real example. June, a widow from Colorado, filed for her own benefit at 62, a few years later. She learned she could switch to her survivor benefit, which was higher, but then she realized she could also suspend the survivor benefit at 66 and let it grow. By 70, she had locked in a 32% increase. It made all the difference. She told me, "That one move gave me the room to live a little and help my grandkids when they need it. And remember, this is not some loophole or workaround. It's written directly into Social Security law. The SSA provides all the guidance you need right on their official site, and the staff are trained to help with suspensions and withdrawals. You're not asking for charity, you're exercising your rights as someone who paid into the system for decades. If you're not sure which option fits you, or if you qualify, don't guess. Call Social Security and talk to a financial advisor who understands retirement income planning. Run the numbers. The key is knowing that you have options, and those options can lead to a more secure future. Just like Frank, you might have more power over your benefits than you realized. You can't turn back time, but you can make better choices starting today. Now that we've covered all 3 moves, let's wrap things up with a few thoughts to help you take the next step with confidence and clarity. You've made it to the end of this conversation, and I hope more than anything that you're walking away with a sense of possibility. Because here's the truth, just because you've already started collecting Social Security doesn't mean your benefits are frozen. In time, you still have choices, you still have power, and those small decisions you make today, they could lead to hundreds or even thousands of extra dollars over the years to come. Maybe the idea of picking up a few hours of part-time work sounds realistic to you, not because you want to go back to the daily grind, but because it feels good to stay active, earn something on your terms, and know you're building your future while doing it. Or maybe something clicked when you heard about spousal or survivor benefits. Maybe you thought of a former spouse you were married to for over a decade. Or maybe you lost your partner and didn't realize you had the option to receive more through their record. If that's the case, I hope today's video gave you the confidence to make that call and ask the questions that could change your monthly check and your peace of mind. And if you're someone who filed early maybe because life gave you no choice, I want you to know it's not too late to adjust. Whether it's stopping and restarting your benefits or suspending them to grow, there's room to make a stronger plan. That's not failure, it's smart, proactive planning. You've earned that right. Each of the 3 moves we covered working. A little longer, tapping into spousal or survivor options, or restarting benefits has one thing in common. They're built on your life experience. You don't need to do anything fancy, you just need to take one small step at a time. You've done harder things than this, and I promise you don't have to do it alone. If something today resonated with you or raised a question, drop it in the comments below. What's one move you're thinking of exploring? Or maybe you've already taken a step and want to share what happened. Your story could be the nudge someone else needs to take action. And if you found this video helpful, please support our vibrant elders community. Give it a like, subscribe for more videos like this, and consider sharing it with someone you care about, because too many people think it's too late when it's really just the beginning of something better. Thanks for spending time with me today. Remember, retirement isn't a finish line. It's just a new chapter, and you have every right to write it with more confidence, more clarity, and more control over your financial life. Until next time, stay well, stay wise, and take good care of yourself. You've earned that and so much more.